So, the first thing that I want you to think about, right, whenever you are facing a situation where it's like, shit, I don't know what I need to be doing. What if I don't do this? What if I do this? What's this one gonna feel? What's that one gonna feel? Again, all of that is bullshit, right? What matters, the only thing that matters is what you need to move forward, right? What your spirit, soul, your connection to the divine, higher power, whatever you connect to, you have to start focusing on what is best for you and for your highest purpose. Hello, everyone. And welcome to WTF with Mel. I am Mel Morris. I am the owner and Chief Magic Officer here at WTF with Mel. And today I want to ask you the question, what if you allowed shit to just happen? So that sounds kind of like a loaded question, I know, but we spend a lot of our energy worrying about what we think is going to happen and proceeding forward in a way that we think is the right way or the way that, we assume people may want. And all of that's bullshit, right? You have zero control over anything but you, but you have all the control over all the things that you do, right? So that's what I want to talk about today. If you have any questions, pop them in. I just want to make sure that my internet is working correctly because I got a weird message. Okay. So if you're here, go ahead and say, hey. I'd love to be able to say hi to everybody. And what I want to do today is not just talk about what if you allowed shit to just happen, but a process that you can start getting more comfortable with letting shit just happen. As we talk about allowing things to happen in our life and trying to remove the stress of figuring everything out, right? I have been offering a workshop. There's one more this evening at 7 o'clock. I'll give you some more info at the end. And it's part of a series that I created called Choosing You. Now, I created this workshop series because of the question of today, which is what if we just allowed things to happen? And again, stop trying to know what was going to, predict what was going to happen in the future, try to get our minds wrapped around all the possibilities because it's impossible to figure that out, right? So the workshop this month has been, it's called Allowing Intuition to Make Decisions. And, if you're here in the group, you know that everything that we talk about here is about connecting to your intuition and how we can do that more, how we can recognize it more. And it doesn't have to be difficult. I was just having this conversation with a young lady today. That it doesn't have to be difficult. We tell ourselves that, but it's not real. Okay. So in the workshop, one of the things that I will be talking about, and specifically I use tarot and oracle cards as a reference point for you to help you connect. And so we go through these steps. There's 8 steps in total. And I want to give you a couple of them today. Hey, Shan, thanks for joining. Sorry, I know I'm having some weird technical difficulties. We're just going to work through it. But so I go through these 8 steps throughout the workshop. And so I want to just start with a couple with y'all today to give you some kind of highlights. And if you want to learn more, then you join me tonight. Okay. So, the first thing that I want you to think about, right, whenever you are facing a situation where it's like, shit, I don't know what I need to be doing. What if I don't do this? What if I do this? What's this one gonna feel? What's that one gonna feel? Again, all of that is bullshit, right? What matters, the only thing that matters is what you need to move forward, right? What your spirit, soul, your connection to the divine, higher power, whatever you connect to, you have to start focusing on what is best for you and for your highest purpose. And so, in order to start getting comfortable in doing that, you have to start being real with yourself and asking some real questions, right? And these are not, again, those questions of what's this one going to think? What's that one going to think? These are questions that you have to start pulling out that are meaningful for you, right? So, in the process that we go through in the workshop, is we start with preparing yourself and the space around you, right? So, step one is when you want to create a routine to start better understanding what you need, how to find your own answers, it's really helpful to create a space, right? It sounds simple, but if you have a space that you can always have set up, even if it's just a little corner in your house someplace, that your mind can start getting trained that when I'm here, when I'm in this space, this is what we're doing here. We're focusing, we're shutting out the rest of the world, we're being really intentional. The more that you're able to do that, the easier it becomes to move out of the chaos that your mind might be creating in any given situation. And you move to this space, and now you can feel kind of this wash over you of comfort and familiarity that, okay, nope, this is the place where we don't do all that craziness. We are here to relax and just be calm, right? The second step to this is then preparing yourself, right? And similarly, you want to start training yourself to get into a position, a headspace where you recognize, again, when I go to this area that is designated for my calm, cool, meditation, Zen, whatever you want to call it, when I'm here in this space, what I'm going to keep reminding myself of is there's nothing that has to be done here. There are no universal answers that I have to come up with. Whatever comes to me, right? There's no pressure because your mind is going to keep spinning. Your mind is going to keep moving forward and coming up with a bunch of random things. And that's okay. You recognize them and you keep going anyways, right? So step two is preparing yourself, again, reminding yourself that while I'm here, while I'm in this space, this is what we're going to do here. I always tell folks, and you all have seen, and I'll show you one that I have here on my desk, having some kind of anchor item with you is what I like to call them. And it's like you can have a little trinket, a little something that you can kind of keep near you that you can either hold in your hand or that you can place somewhere where you're going to see it every day. Again, as a little reminder of, oh, wait, I need to be calming down and focusing in. Okay, great. I'm holding my item, I'm touching my item. It can be a piece of jewelry, it can be a coin, it can be any little thing that you just have near you, have in eyesight. Again, as a little reminder, right? These are just little tricks that are going to help you to remember to slow down, take a step back, right? And really get centered. And so, as we talk about getting yourself prepared, that within that step, it's really important to find a way, either through meditation, audio, listen to some kind of soothing music. Sorry, I don't know why my video keeps popping out. Whether it's some kind of music, whether it's focusing in on a specific image, whether it is breathing, right? There are all sorts of breathing exercises that allow you, I'm going to turn this off just in case, that allow you to just, again, bring it back, right? I mean, even if we quickly, while you watch this, if you just quickly do we'll do a 4-7-8 breath. So you're going to inhale for 4, hold it for 7, release it out for 8, right? So I'm going to do this right now. You can do it with me whenever you're watching and just see how it feels, okay? So we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8. Right? So even in that couple of seconds of time, right? If you don't do anything else other than take those breaths and focus on counting those numbers, it shifts your brain from chaos or crazy or whatever else was going on just a moment ago. It snaps you out of it for just a moment, right? And in that moment is where you start to find that peace and that calm that you can continue to build on, right? So within the workshop, there's a couple of tips like this that I give you, but we also do a really beautiful guided meditation. There is an oracle deck that you all have seen before, this Oracle of the Seven Energies deck. And what I do is I pull the card just before the workshop, and there are beautiful guided meditations that go with sets of the cards. And so we do that together. And while we look at the card that was pulled, and again, it's just an opportunity, right? Whatever, you don't have to use tarot oracle, you don't have to do the breathing, right? Whatever you find that works for you, because it's about you, right? It's not about me or what other people think you should be doing. Whatever you can do to help calm down, give yourself a moment, get out of your own head, and ease into a really comfortable space, right? So we take some time to do that so that everybody is like really calm and mellow and in a good headspace. And then you move on to setting your intentions, right? So what's the reason? What's the purpose? What do you want to do with this beautiful little pocket of calm energy and space that you've created for yourself, right? Well, if you're going to be using, if you're going to be pulling a tarot card or an oracle card, and you have some questions, that's the intention, right? I want some answers to some questions. I want to check in around some energy, right? Whatever it is, set the intention, right? So the example that I'll use, because again, the workshop, this one particularly focuses on tarot and oracle cards. And don't worry if you want to come and don't have cards of your own. I got all the cards. You don't have to worry about that. I will pull for folks who do not have cards. But the idea is to start thinking about what it is you want to check in on, right? And I've said this before, I'll say this continuously, that the most important thing, and I think what we often get stuck on the most, is asking real questions of ourselves, right? We often will ask these big, like, what do I want to do with my life questions. I mean, who the hell is going to be able to answer that, right? That's too big a task for you to try to wrap your mind around. And there are so many pieces that go into that, right? There have been a lot of people recently who have asked me, like back to back. I had several people asking about moving, right? Either moving out of their neighborhood, moving out of their state, moving out of the country, right? And what's surrounding me about this? Like, should I move? Is that going to make my life better? And without the cards, I'm going to say where you live has nothing to do with who you are and who you can be, right? The question at that point, and we go through this in several steps, is you have to start narrowing down and asking, what do you really want to know, right? Because if your question is, if I move out of the country, is that going to make my life better? Is that really what you want to know? Or do you really want to check in about things that are happening in your life right now, right? Something much more specific. Maybe it has to do with a situation that's going on in your life that you actually want to find out about, right? Why are you asking the question to begin with, right? What are you hoping to get out of this? So there's a bunch of pieces that go with finding the best answers, or excuse me, the best questions to find out what you really want to know, right? And so again, we spend a lot of time, even when I work with one-on-one clients, to do readings, I spend a good amount of time figuring out what is it you're actually trying to check in on, right? And again, for me, it's not about what I think, what anybody else thinks for you. You have to start being really honest with yourself and asking, what is it I really want to do, right? Who do I really want to be? How do I really want to show up in the world that's best for me and not for anybody else, right? So once we go through this, several steps of kind of figuring out the best question, narrowing in on what we really want to know, again, you're going to end up with a couple series of questions that you start to get really specific about. Only at that point, right, are you really ready to even start pulling a card. Now, when you first learn this and start doing it, and the beauty of having the workshop is that you actually kind of get to practice while you're there, is the more that you do it, the easier that it is, right? When you first start setting this process up, just like anything else, when you start going to the gym, you might spend a lot of time and money buying workout clothes and finding the right gym and which place feels comfortable to you and what kind of people are there and right, all the things that because you're ready to start this new routine. Connecting to your intuition is the same thing, right? If you're going to make a practice of it, there's a little bit of work you got to put in on the front end, right? But it gets easier and easier and easier. So I actually pulled a card before I got on here. I usually will pull a card to ask kind of the universe, what message do I need to get across to folks? And I'm not going to go into the steps after because I want you to come to the workshop, and I'll make sure that in the comments, there'll be a link there if you want to sign up. It's this evening. The last one is this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So you still have time. There is going to be a recording that will come out afterwards. So if, something happens, you'll still get access to the workshop. But it's 90 minutes. It's a great setup to just get you on the path, right? To start creating a system for yourself. So I'll show you the card and just kind of my interpretation of what I want to share with you today. And then if, as always, if you have any questions, you can pop them in. Okay, I'll just give you the card in case you're looking on your phones. It's a little bit easier. So this is from a different oracle deck. I'll show you. I think I have the book here somewhere. But it's from the Enchanted Map oracle deck. And, you've seen cards before, and you know that I always ask folks to just stop and think about, what do you really see in this card, right? What really jumps out at you? What feeling comes across, right? Because all of those things, that's your intuition pointing things out to you, right? Not whatever story your mind's going to start creating in a minute about, oh, this card must mean blah, 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 right? That's not relevant to the story. I'll put me back in. Your intuition is those first flashes that connect to you when you first see this card, right? So, again, there's a process that we go through that I show you to start connecting to intuition, connecting this and making a story for yourself that becomes simpler and simpler, easier and easier as you do this regularly. But I will say for me and my question of asking, what did I need to make sure to express to you today is in this come together card. It really is what I really love about this. And I don't know what I did with the book. I swear I set it down someplace and now I can't find it. Because I wanted to show you the cover of it. what's really beautiful about this card and this coming together is, there isn't one right way to come together, right? But there is a need to be in collaboration with other people, right? So whether it's, the obvious can be about relationships, right? But for me, in the message that I think really needs to be had, to share with you all, is this idea of, and I've had to learn this for myself as well, is this idea of asking for help, right? Not as a sign of weakness, but really as a sign of collaboration, of co creation, right? I have been in this beautiful spiral of co creation now for maybe the last year and change, where I realized that I really need to have other people's energy around me to be my best, to feel the most me, and finding people that allow me to just be who I am, the best version of myself, is absolutely crucial. And so when I see this come together card, it definitely does speak to that issue, that this notion of it's time, right? It's time for us to start getting into a space where we recognize that working with others on the things that really matter to us is going to be so crucial, right? You don't have to do it alone. And why would you want to when there's so many amazing people in the world and around you that you can connect to, right? Sometimes there are people who can teach you lessons. Sometimes there are people who need you to help them find a lesson, right? So obviously for today, I would love for you to come together with me and come into the workshop this evening, and just learn a little bit more again about this, making these connections. It's so, so important and so really vital, I think, of where we are. So I see Shan. I'm gonna wait. Let me switch my camera view over. What's the best way to dismiss or block energy that's attempting to pull you backwards after you've had a spiritual awakening? Oh, that's a great question. Hey, Nikki. So everything that I talked about today, and this creating this space, both physically and mentally and spiritually, being really intentional about creating those spaces is going to be the first step, right? Because if you're in a space that you feel comfortable, where you recognize that you can just be, I can just be me here. There's no pressure. It doesn't matter what anybody else is thinking or doing or saying, right? This is my time, my space, my connection to, again, God, Goddess, the divine, your higher power, however you identify, then there isn't any space there for other people's bullshit, right? So other people's negativity doesn't have a way to weave itself in if your focus is on you and what you want to do, what you're building on, how you're growing, right? And I think so often when we have an awakening, when we are connecting spiritually, it can feel, I want to say uncomfortable is the word I'm going to use. It might not be the best word, but it can be uncomfortable because it's not something that we're taught, right? So many of us grew up going to church, and there's like a religious awakening that people can have. And so there's testimony that you can get from that, right? We spend a lifetime of learning academically. Oh, I don't know what's happening with the sun all of a sudden. Sorry. Academically, we learn things to gain more knowledge. But when it comes to spirituality, and again, that connection to something that's bigger and not in a formal religious sense, anytime we do something new, it can feel really uncomfortable, right? And it can be really uncomfortable for people on the outside because they're not having that experience, right? You may be changing and they don't know what to do with that. So they either want to bring you back to a space that feels easier for them, or they may want to say things, do things that's like, oh, who do you think you are? Oh, now you're all this and that. And none of that is your concern, right? What other people think about you is none of your business, right? I forget who's saying that is, but it's so true, right? You're on a path that is now moving and evolving. And everybody isn't meant to be on that path with you. And that's okay, right? They have their own path. And maybe your paths will cross again. But when it comes to blocking, or when you're focused on you and what you need to do, you can't even see that other stuff, right? You absolutely have to just let that go, right? Now, I know that can be easier said than done. I've certainly been there, and I know especially when it comes to family or partners or other close relationships, that can be tough when people, again, are not where you are, and not ready for who this new version of you is. But it's real, right? If you allow other people to dictate your life, then you're always just living for them. Where are you in that? And so you have to start choosing you, right? Choosing what's most important for you. And there's no magic to that, right? I mean, everything is magic, everything, right? But there's no magic pill for that, right? There's no spell or a formula that anybody needs for that. Hey, Carrie, there's none of that, right? It is just about you continuously focusing on you and what you want and who you want to be. And again, how you want to show up in the world, right? I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense for you. So yeah, so if there's no other questions, then again, I will say I will pop into the chat. Can I write it here? Oh, actually I can. Oh, no, I can't. I thought maybe I could. Oh, it is letting me type. So if you go to WTFwithMel.com, sorry, my keyboard's being weird and it's pausing, /workshops. There we go. You will see the workshop page, and it has right now, oh, look, the little window even popped up. So it has the first workshop there, Allowing Intuition. Workshop is open right now. That's the one. Again, the last one is this evening at 7 o'clock. And I probably will offer this particular workshop again, maybe in October, kind of I'll maybe start this cycle again. And you'll also see there the next workshop that's going to happen in August is open as well. And that one is about more about our emotions and learning more about the emotional guidance scale. So throughout August, I'll be talking a lot more about emotions and the scale and how to use it and things like that. And that's what that workshop will be. But again, tonight at 7 is the last of the specifically Allowing Intuition to Make Decisions workshop. I hope that you can join me. If you have any questions, you can always pop them in here or send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. And I think that's it. Thank you so, so much for always being here and for your support. I love you all. I'm glad that I'm starting to be able to come out and see some of y'all in person and give hugs. It feels amazing. So I'll see some of you this evening. And that's it. Stay magical. Have a great day, y'all.